If you are an educator that loves what you do, you are passionate about educating, teaching, and sharing knowledge with people, children, teens, or adults, then this might be for you. I have Diana Vu here. She is very passionate about what she does. And she actually has gotten to the point where she's recognizing that she was slightly capped with her impact and her income within the education realm, which is something I'm sure a lot of you can connect with. So we're just going to be asking Diana some questions and kind of seeing how she got to where she is, where she came from, and the why behind it all. So thanks for joining us, Diana. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Paris.
All right, thanks for joining me today, Diana. You don't know how much this means to me.
Thank you, Paris. Thank you for taking the time to even sit down with me and giving me the opportunity to share.
You're like basically Insta famous, so it's my honor. She will play the humble role as much as possible, but this girl is crushing it. I'll be reading from here, but I just want to ask you, definitely just speak from your heart. You know, give the people heart behind everything. And of course, she's going to be 100% honest because I don't think she even knows how to be anything other than that. So take me back to when you were a child, a kid struggling with algebra. What did having a tutor actually feel like for you?
Having a tutor, I felt like learning the hard stuff was possible. I enjoyed having a teacher outside of the classroom in a more one-on-one small group setting for me to ask my questions and interact with some other students that I didn't have to see every day.
Right.
And so they didn't, I felt like being in the classroom, if I asked a question or whatnot, if I got up out of my seat and went to the teacher, even though my algebra teacher was amazing, I just was very shy. I didn't want other kids to see me as the one that didn't understand, the one that was in an advanced algebra class but had so many questions. I thought, questions were bad. So having a tutor allowed me the opportunity to, slow down, learn at my own pace, and it definitely helped me the rest of that year.
I really like that. I never thought of it as, because I was the opposite, but I never thought about it like that someone would need to come out of their environment at school and go into a more private setting and talk to someone about the questions that they aren't comfortable with asking in front of an audience. Never thought of it because every class, my arm was tired because I would have my hand up trying to answer every question because I was extremely extroverted, but I really like that perspective and thank you for sharing that. Now, I guess I have to ask then, did you ever imagine back then that you'd grow up to be that same person for someone else's child?
Yes and no. When I decided to be a teacher, I was more so really focused on the ethics, I guess the technical side of being a good teacher. I didn't realize until much later how important it is to have those relationships with the kids. And now I use that as my power, in the classroom.
Awesome. So essentially you went into it because you love the idea of being a teacher and then you ended up falling in love with the kids.
Yes.
I love that. That's cool. Okay. So what is it like now sitting across from a student and helping them, watching them struggle, but knowing what it feels like on the other side of that?
I think it feels amazing. I get to remember my days when I was struggling as a student and really thinking, okay, how did I overcome this very same topic then as a child now? And I get to now use the things that I've learned teaching the subject, because learning as a student algebra and teaching algebra are totally two different things, and I picked up a lot of things along the way. So my kids get the best of both worlds, if that makes sense. So
awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't get to benefit from someone that's gone through tutoring themselves. I think a lot of times what it ends up being is like this person that has never had tutoring, they're just like a whiz at whatever it is that they do. So they're almost like just like, this is how you do it, this is what you do, and that's just what it is. Whereas though Diana, really, you're able to get on their level. You can see exactly where they're coming from. You understand them at a different depth than other people that just haven't experienced it. So I love that. I think that's really cool. So I guess before you started building this business, was there a specific moment that you can remember thinking, I don't think I can do this?
Oh, yes. Yes. This last year, it was very difficult, and I was trying to figure out why it was so difficult, because in my head I had decided next school year, 2026 to 2027, was going to be my last year. So as I was going through this past school year, I wondered why I was struggling so much. I dreaded driving to work in the morning.
Wow.
I felt sick walking into the building, clocking in, putting my keys in my classroom, and just setting up. And me as a teacher, I'm very like type A kind of teacher. I have everything planned weeks in advance.
Yeah.
But this past year, I'm like, okay, what are we doing today? Let me use the resources that the team has put out already, and let me not try to reinvent the wheel, because I've already kind of done that the past few years. But I remember specifically, it was third period. And this past year, third period was one of my toughest class. It was an algebra remediation or intervention class. These students, they have failed the algebra star test, which in the state of Texas is the state test. It's they've taken it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. I even had a senior. This is probably her 5th or 6th time taking the class and taking the test. And so, they were really low with algebra.
Right.
But that wasn't an issue for me. There was a moment where I prepared this amazing lesson, and I stood in front of the class ready to engage them like any other day, which, for the most part, they were really good about, wanting that. But eventually it got to a point where, I was just teaching to the test, teaching to get them ready for the district exam, teaching them to get ready for the STAR test that they had coming up. And honestly, I felt disgusted teaching them. Like, I felt like a dictator, like we need to do this, and that. It was all calculator. It was all memorization. There's no why behind it. And I guess I could have, slowed down and explained the why. But I felt like my hands were tied because I didn't have the time to do that.
Oh my
Exams
goodness.
were coming up. Deadlines were coming up. I just felt very disconnected.
Right.
With my teaching, and I was like disgusted, just basically. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that. That puts a light on things that you have no clue. Like, I've never been a teacher in that sense of going in front of a classroom of 30 kids, 20 kids, anything like that. And there were some times where I would just be like, this teacher just seems like they don't care. But they probably had just lost their spark. They probably recognized that there was so much red tape that they couldn't get past. So they end up getting to the point where they just, I don't even know what to tell you guys. They were fed up. And I'm thinking, oh, they don't like us. When really they loved us, they liked us. But they couldn't do what they needed to do to get through to us because they were teaching to the test, just as you mentioned. So thank you for sharing from the perspective of a teacher. I'm so grateful that you just said that, because that just set me free too. I'm so grateful. So I guess I was I feel like you already answered this kind of, but like when it came to starting a business, what was a thought that kept you from it? Like, you had all of these things going on at work. You were recognizing, like, I don't think I like this. But there was still some fear when it came to starting a business. Can you think of what maybe that thought was that you had, considering you were coming from the teaching and going into something of your own?
I think a lot of my fear from stepping out on faith and starting something of my own was that teaching was all that I knew. Teaching was what I wanted to do. And I felt like I didn't know anything else outside of being a teacher inside of a school, inside of my classroom. And I also felt like my value or my skills or the person that I am could only be valuable inside a classroom because that was all that I knew.
That's unfortunate because you have so much value. She has so much value.
Thank you, Paris.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of move to some of the wins. So I'll say this. You were off social media for like 3 years before you started your program.
Yeah.
What was actually happening for you during that time that you were off of social media?
Yeah, 3 years ago, I got off of social media, and I didn't have a lot of social media, guys. Like, all I had was Facebook, and even then, you know, it was like, yeah. But around the time, I felt, I was scrolling through a lot, comparing myself to other people's highlight reels, and whenever I would post something, I was looking for the likes, you know, looking for the comments, but I wasn't adding real value. So when you're not adding value into a community or to other people's lives and at the same time comparing my lowest lows to people's highest highs, it was a very toxic cycle.
Yeah.
And it was very bad on my mental health, and I just had to get off of it.
So is that kind of what kept you from wanting to get back on? Because did you need to like essentially reframe your mind into recognizing you were going to be adding value? Or explain that to me, that feeling of, okay, I'm about to get back on social media. What was the fear that was causing you to pause?
Yes, I was very hesitant to get back on social media, and I was also even angry when Paris suggested it to me. I was like, how dare you suggest something that was so toxic for me? But my mind by that time, because I had grown so much in reading different books and associating with different entrepreneurs and people who were open-minded and, you know, have a purpose and vision for their lives, my mind by then was primed and open to receive that, to receive social media back into my life. But also I was still nervous when I created my accounts, but I held on to the belief that now I have a purpose for my social media accounts. Now I get to use that as a tool and not a toy. I use it, you know, to help me with something that I'm building and not as simply entertainment.
So many nuggets there. As a tool and not a toy. Let's go. She got the one-liners going. I'm like, let's go. And then also just adding value. Like, oh my goodness, everyone has so much value to add, but unfortunately, a lot of people are just used to this. I mean, like, yeah, you're pretty. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but a lot of people are just used to showing themselves doing cool things, but to actually be getting back out there, that's awesome. The way you're doing it now, I guess. What does Diana from 3 years ago say to Diana now with all that you have going on social media?
I would just say to well, Diana 3 years ago would probably say, I'm really proud of you, Diana, today. You've gone through a lot, you've opened up, you've healed from a lot of things, and you're able to share your own testimony to help other people in whatever area, personal relationships, business, faith. So it's been really cool to be able to go through the hard things to share and have a story for others to hear.
That's amazing. Amazing. You made the decision to not go back into teaching this year.
Oh yeah.
Walk me through how you actually got to that decision.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, this past year has been difficult, not just mentally, but physically.
Yeah.
And I've never experienced feeling nauseous, wanting to throw up, walking into the school building and sitting at my desk. And And I didn't know why. I was like, oh, is this part of just the year that I'm in? You know, you get to a point in your teaching journey where you just have certain hard years. But it was affecting, a lot of my health.
You sure they didn't have mold in the building? No, I'm playing.
You know, I keep saying there was something in the air. But also during that time, this is like January, February, March, so into the spring semester, there came a certain point in the school year where I was going through a lot of life changes, good life changes. I moved out into my own apartment. I joined a freedom group at my church.
Awesome.
So I was surrounding myself with a lot of different things, but also moving from what I've known all my life, my parents, my family, as amazing as they are, that comfort world, into I guess not necessarily the wild, but being on my own, basically being on my own, it opened up my eyes to, wow, I made this entire move myself. You know, my parents were not very involved in the move at all, financially, like anything like that. And so I was like, okay, if I could do this one hard thing, what else can I do? What else is possible for me out there?
Wow.
And I just started, the wheels in my brain just started going, and also joining a group as well helped me.
Literally a freedom.
Yes, freedom. I never made that connection.
Wow.
It was just, okay, God hasn't taken me this far to just keep me where I am.
Right.
And once I made that decision, I felt so much peace. So I knew it was the right decision.
Yeah.
And I went back into that school building all like
not
happy.
Throwing up.
Not throwing up, not feeling nauseous. And I was also finally able to see the system for what it was and not try to change it.
Yeah.
I'm just one woman in a school system. I can't be the only one that changes it. And so I just had fun the rest of the school year, connected with the rest of my students and my colleagues, and saw the positive side of everything, really.
That is so awesome. Sometimes it's just one decision. Sometimes people are one decision away from healing. Just one. So I think that's awesome that you made that decision. And I guess I want to ask you, because I've rocked the boat in that way before. Now, what did the people closest to you say when you told them that you were leaving education? And when I say this to say, Diana is a teachery teacher. She was the department head. She was doing the meetings. She TIA, getting the checks and stuff, holding up the big check and all of that. So she's a teacher. What were people thinking when you said you were leaving education?
They were shocked, for sure.
Yeah.
But they were very confident that whatever I was going to jump into next, if it was anything that I put into teaching, it was going to be a success.
Awesome.
So some of them were very, a little nervous for me just because they cared.
Yeah. But
they also recognized how strong of a teacher I am, how strong my skills are, my relationships with people are. So they were very confident. And that was amazing to hear. My parents are a lot closer than my colleagues, but they knew the person that I was. And I wouldn't make such a big jump or a big decision without fully planning and thinking through. So they saw my confidence in my next steps and my plans.
They're like, what can we do?
Yeah.
She's grown.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. And I guess I want to say to that too, the cool thing about it is that Diana's parents are actually entrepreneurs. And it's so interesting how just that seed that was planted probably early on for her is something that's coming out to grow now through her journey. Although she had no desire previously to be an entrepreneur, the fact that you're walking it out now is just like, that's a testimony. That is an awesome thing. So kudos to you for actually taking the risk, because most people are not going to quit their job. But the reality is, we got options. We have options. Your videos, let's talk about these videos on Instagram and such. Her videos have gotten as high as 120,000 views.
Can't believe it still.
After 3 years of silence. So I guess I'll ask, what do you think is actually connecting with people?
My videos, I'm just myself. And that's something that I really focus on, being and showing up as my authentic, genuine self, and being as vulnerable as I want, being honest. It's hard to pretend to be like someone else.
Oh yeah.
I think I've been there so many times, and that's why I was pretty much off of social media, 3 years ago. But with these, I have teaching videos where I'll do a problem wrong, and these are mistakes that I've seen my students make over and over again. And the audience loves to point out what I did wrong, and I'm okay with it because I allow that in my classroom. Why not, let the world, do that for me? And so they love correcting people. I love, seeing their interaction. Some of these people will go hard. I'm like, okay, you can also do it that way. Like, don't worry,
That works too.
Yeah, that works too. It's okay. Yeah. But it's amazing to be able to have that many eyeballs on something so simple as a 15-second problem that I did incorrectly.
That is so cool. Because it's funny, we're normally drawn away from the very things we're supposed to be doing. I have never gotten 120,000 views yet. I'm saying yet because I'm speaking it.
Yes, exactly.
But I've never gotten that many views. But the reality is, I also haven't stepped away from social media for 3 years. It's funny how the very things that we're supposed to be sharing with the world, we start to second guess ourselves on. We start to pull away and stop sharing. So I'm so excited that you're sharing with the world. And I know there's so much more. There's so much more. And it's crazy because this is only the beginning. Mind you, I have to say this. The 120,000 likes, that's not like a fluke. That wasn't just, she went viral suddenly. No, she has a 70,000. She has a 50,000. She has another 50,000 or something, a 20,000, a 10,000, a 7,000, a 7,000. I looked today just to make sure, because I'm like, no, it's not a fluke. Like, this is literally the real thing, and they're not all about math. Some of them are literally about your life, and that many people are interested in seeing you. So I am excited that she's showing up as her authentic self because she is to be loved. Thank
you, Paris.
Okay, so you've also built another business outside of tutoring. I guess, how does that fit into everything that you're building now? And how did it kind of set you up to kind of slide into wanting to be a business owner in a different arena?
Business ownership mindset is huge. It's something that I have taken years to learn and adapt. So having my other business before I started my tutoring business, it helped prime my mindset going into this new journey. I didn't have to, it wasn't such a huge gap going between employee mindset to business ownership mindset. But there were still things I had to learn mindset wise, but it wasn't a huge gap.
Right.
So I think the mindset was a big thing for me.
Awesome. So one thing I'll say to those of you out there who are thinking of doing something entrepreneurial, whatever it is, start feeding your brain in that direction. If you're not looking to be an employee for the rest of your life, remember you were trained for the last 15 years or so, 20 years, depending on how long you were in school. You've been trained for years and years and years to be an employee. But you want to start putting things into your mind that will kind of start priming you to be an entrepreneur, because it's not the easiest jump to just jump out there. I'm an entrepreneur, yay! However, it is possible, but yeah, I think that's really cool that you had something to kind of prime the wheel. You weren't just like immediate. So, all right, so Diana's first cohort is coming up now in a little bit here. And I guess I want to know, what does it feel like now, and what are you excited about now that you're getting this close to launching your first cohort for your business? And tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so like Paris said, I'm launching my first cohort very soon, and I'm very excited because I get to work with middle and high school students, particularly in algebra or about to approach algebra, and they may be either stuck or silent in the subject or in math in general. And I want to transform them from, being the quiet kid or being the one that asks all the questions to the one up in front of their classmates, teaching, explaining, solving. So that transformation, I'm very excited to be able to, guide them from where they are currently to where they want to be, because it's not just teaching everything that's in the curriculum,
right.
like the school system,
right.
like I've been used to for the past 7 years.
Yeah.
It's not just teaching to a test, because there will be no test in my program. The only test really is, hey, how well can you explain something?
Mm-hmm.
But nothing structured like that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just very excited to be able to make that transformation happen for my students. I'm not looking for them to score 70 or higher on a test. I'm not looking for them to pass a state test, even though the results of being able to teach and solve problems in front of their peers and think critically will definitely help them if they do have an exam like that to take,
right.
In school or whatnot. But I get to be able to fill in the gaps almost,
right,
that I wasn't able to fill in when I was in the classroom for my kids.
Awesome. So essentially you'll have more time
Mm-hmm.
to actually teach them the critical thinking behind the work that they're doing.
Right.
So that when they do go to take a test at school, they'll know how to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
They can imagine themselves speaking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important parts to actually genuinely learning something. When I take tests, I'm normally speaking to myself about it. I'm normally talking myself through it. So I think that's more of an important part than I think most people give it credit for. I don't think many people talking about math, talking through the problem. I just hear people say, this is the equation, now plug in the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't always work that easily. There's other steps. You're almost speaking the steps to yourself. So I really like your program. I like that.
Thank you.
And tell us the name of your program and everything.
Well, my business is called Together in Math, and the cohort is called the Algebra Confidence Cohort. In the future, I do see myself opening different cohorts,
Okay.
like the Geometry Confidence Cohort,
Okay.
or the Calculus Confidence Cohort. But for now, I want to focus on algebra, because algebra is foundational, and I know that it's a subject that students. That's where math tends to start getting very difficult, because they always ask the question, why are there letters and numbers?
Right.
So let's explore that. Let's, make sure we're solid in that area, so that anything that comes afterwards, they're able to have a lot in their toolbox to work through.
Awesome. All right, so it's not going to be the easiest part, but business ownership, not everything is smooth in business ownership.
Oh, no.
So can you tell me about something that recently threw a wrench in your plans?
Well, I was going to run ads on Facebook and Instagram just to reach more people.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've had a lot of eyeballs on certain videos on my accounts, but I really want to connect with the families and the students that I'm really excited to serve and just get to know and help. And I was basically hacked. So it's not a fun part of the business. I'm not very tech savvy especially when it comes to that kind of stuff. Paris typically is the person that I go to the most. And I kind of hand things off, and I'm there watching, hey, what else you need, Paris? Help me with this. But yeah, that was a wrench in my plan, because I was very excited a few weeks out from, starting my cohort and wanting to fill a few more spots.
Right.
And so that's been one of the recent setbacks, for sure.
When that happened, what was your gut reaction?
My gut reaction is not again.
Okay.
Again?
Again?
Because this wasn't the first time.
Okay.
And so it's almost like, okay, I'm supposed to step out even more. I'm supposed to reach more people.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the enemy, if I'm not supposed to reach out, then it'll just happen. But I feel like this is part of my story. This is part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be able to help someone else that may encounter the same issues later on. But I can't let this one setback, set me back.
Literally.
So, yeah, so.
Quite literally.
And I think I told you the other day, I was like, okay, now that this has happened again, it's given me the opportunity to now think of other creative ways to reach those people. So there's always it's a blessing in disguise almost, but it's hard to see that in the moment. I definitely cried. This is late at night. I'm like, I want to go to sleep right now, but this is on my mind and I have to, deal with it. So.
Yeah, I think the main thing that a lot of people don't talk about is those tough things. I mean, the reality is this is business ownership we're talking about here. When you own a business, things are hard, but guess what? Things are hard at your job too, aren't they? Didn't you have some hard moments at school? Didn't you have some hard moments just last week that you had to overcome? So I guess a lot of people paint the idea of entrepreneurship and having your own business as just, fairy tale, I have freedom. But with freedom comes responsibility. And I love what she said that, I cried about it. But guess what? I figured out a different way to handle it. A lot of people think of things as being failure, but what you just showed me and what you're showing people is that overcoming is really what it's about. It's about showing that things are going to come up. You're going to have hiccups, but how are you going to overcome it? And figuring out ways. And I have some more questions about that later, but I want to ask, how'd you get yourself back to steady after that, knowing that your account is being hacked over and over, you're trying to reach these people and it feels like you can't?
Well, it was late at night when I discovered my account was compromised, and I did everything I could, late in the night, but I was not going to not go to sleep because of this. I was not going to lose sleep. Right. I was not going to put my physical health in jeopardy like I did the job again. So I did what I could do at the time, created a report and everything so that it could be addressed later on. But I prayed, and then I was at peace. I was able to go to sleep very soundly. And then the very next day, I reached out to Ian in Paris. I sought guidance. I sought, advice on what to do next. And I think that's a big part for me, is going to the people that can help. Not staying in my bubble, staying in my, isolation, crying it out, but really seeking guidance and being okay with talking about the hard things.
Awesome.
Not keeping everything in my head, because I tend to be that person. Keep everything to myself. And fortunately, like Paris said, because she's so close to me, she can read certain things. So it's been really nice to not always initiate that, but if you don't have that kind of person in your life to do that, it's your responsibility to open up and tell them what's going on, because they can't help someone that you pretend to be.
That's it.
So
that's it. That actually segues great into my next question. I know you're a part of a community right now, but just with everything you're building and everything that has gone wrong, or little brain farts, or things that you weren't sure of along the way, what actually kept you steady with being in a community and things of that nature?
I believe the community itself. I love that I not only have Ian in Paris, but I also have Marissa, I also have Aaron, I also have other entrepreneurs, educators themselves. So there's a lot of overlap in our experiences, not just in the classroom, but what we're building outside of the classroom now. I get to hear from multiple voices. Even though I respect your voice, Paris, and your perspectives, you've had a lot of experiences that I can learn from. You've gone through a lot of the stuff so that we don't have to go through it ourselves. But just knowing that there are other people that can speak into my life is amazing.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome. So on days that you have where just entrepreneurship, building business feels hard, what do you go back to? What do you feed yourself with?
I feed myself with the word, and I go into prayer, but most importantly, I remember why I started this journey in the first place. I remember, and this was just maybe 5 months ago, I wouldn't have made such a huge decision if I did not have faith that God was going to be there with me every step of the way.
That's right. That's good.
I knew that it was going to be a hard journey. I knew that there were certain decisions that I had to make. I knew that there were certain conversations that I had to have that were difficult. But if God's on my side, like, who can go against me?
That's it.
You know?
That's
so
it.
I remember my why.
Yeah.
And I remember the lifestyle that I'm building. But as much as I remember what I want, I also remember what I don't want. So if you're not motivated by what is possible, what you do want, think of the lifestyle that you're currently building now. Inaction is still action. You know, indecision is still a decision. So
that's really good. I'm gonna expand on that just a little bit. She literally just said, think about the life that you're building now. Does it align with what you truly want for yourself? And if it doesn't, then are you going to allow the decision of being indecisive to keep you from where you actually want to be? I really like that. Okay. So if there is a young woman watching this and she's thinking about building something of her own and it feels like she's starting from nothing, what would you want her to know?
I would want her to know that she's capable, that she is more than enough, that the desires of her heart are valid, and her fears are valid, her doubts are valid. The hardest step is the first step. And if she's able to find people, a community where she's able to just be her vulnerable self. And another thing, I'm not married, I'm single, I have no kids. And I think a lot of people would see that as a disadvantage. Or I know I've been there. I've seen that as a disadvantage. I've been, sometimes I think, it'd be really nice to have, my significant other, help me through some things that I'm going through, or just get a second opinion from them right away. But honestly, that's where the community comes in. And that's why I'm so blessed to be able to have other people that I can lean into. That's not just my significant other. Just get other opinions and other experiences. Within the community, I get access to different videos that I may have missed if I wasn't able to come to a certain meeting, worksheets, scripts, things that I don't have to start from scratch with. I can use those scripts and to make it my own. I can use those worksheets to make my own, but I'm not starting from ground zero. And that has really helped build my confidence. I think I saw that really, really quickly into your guys' first cohort, because at the beginning I was more so in the background.
Yeah.
I was tuning into the meetings, but I was more so like Ian and Paris's secretary or helper almost.
Yes.
Like commenting and things like that and making sure, all the background stuff was good. But then eventually I was like, okay, like I really like the people and how fired up they are about their programs and just living life beyond, the four walls of the classroom. And I started to, dream outside of the classroom more. And I saw that I wasn't going to create something from scratch. I think eventually, teachers, we learn not to create things from scratch when you can just use what's already out there and make it your own. So I was able to do that in this cohort, in this program with Prosper, and it's been amazing.
Awesome. Awesome. I do have one last question. I can speak to, you know, all of the things that I saw happen for her within this last cohort and all of the growth and development that I've seen. But I'm very interested. What are those major shifts that you actually experienced yourself, whether it was mindset, whether it was just simply like starting, like just anything that you are taking away from this and recognizing like, wow, my life is a lot different than it was just 5 or 4 months ago?
Well, I think the biggest mindset shift throughout this entire journey is that this is something that I'm building for the rest of my life. So when I make it, quote unquote, you know, there's really no time frame. Just because one part of the process is taking longer than I expected, that doesn't mean that I'm failing.
Right.
And what if you go at this for 10 years, but you quit at the 10th year, not knowing that the day after the 10th year is over is when you'll hit, you know,
the $1 million mark.
Yeah. So it's a lifetime journey, and that's something that I've really had to wrap my mind around. If I was willing to work at my teaching job for the rest of my life until retirement, why can't I do this for myself and for my future family? So I think that's been a big mindset, just having that longevity, that long-term mindset with business ownership. So awesome. Well, Diana does have a business of her own, as she's been speaking about. Where can people find you online if they were to type you into Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, the whole nine? Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Together in Math, and instead of TO for together, it's the number 2, because you know, math. So yeah, that's where you guys can find me. And thank you for having me today, Paris. No
problem. Thank you so much for oh goodness. It's been really cool hearing all of your answers. I know Diana, but the cool thing about it is that even just being in the setting of doing an interview, I've heard different aspects of her answers to certain questions. I've actually sat here and been like, oh, wow, like that's really cool. So definitely so grateful to have you, and really excited to seeing the growth that she has had in literally 4 months. It's literally been 4 months, March to July, right? Yeah. March to July, it's been 4 months, and this is just the beginning. What? This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
So if you are in a space where you have some ideas and you have some thoughts of some things that you want to kind of expand on, some things that you might want to try, some things you might want to present to the marketplace or to students, not just in your surrounding areas, but in the entire country. If you are that person that has some more things that you're wanting to explore, and you took anything from Diana today, reach out to us. We can be found all around. That's not how I wanted to say that. All you have to do is leave a comment. I do watch all of the comments and respond to them as I see them. So definitely shoot us a comment. You can also check us out over on Instagram, and I will have all of the links to our socials and Diana's socials down in the description. So be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and have a great one. We will see you on the next video.